Hey, thanks for coming out this afternoon. We thought we'd have this availability to offer some clarification around the Roberts Stadium and the bid questions that have come up. Last year, the administration asked Clink Company to give it an estimate on what it would cost to raise Roberts Stadium. And in fact, the Clink Company did provide an estimate of $200,000 to raise the building. That $200,000 does not account for preparing the land for redevelopment, simply pushing the building over and basically creating a pile of rubble, but it did not account for any land preparation for reuse. So that is why that bid is $200,000. When we went out to developers to propose it to construction companies rather, we had very specific bid specifications that we required. Every company that expressed interest in demolishing Roberts Stadium received all of this information. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 big sets of drawings. And in writing, very specific bid documents. What we wanted to know was how much it would cost to raise the building and prepare the land for a park. And that's why the bids came in at the price they did, ranging from $958,000 to $2.7 million. The bids did not surprise us. During our due diligence, during the whole task force process, we were told to expect price quotes between $750,000 and $1.2 million. So we expected the bids to come in that price range. They came in a little higher. From a budget standpoint, because of the bid that the city received last year, the city council did approve in this year's budget $200,000. Whoops. Andrew's calling.
Hurry, please. Can you do that again, Mayor?
Yeah, what did I say?
You were just picking.
Okay. Because of the bid last year, the council did approve $200,000 in this year's budget. Okay? So with what we thought would be estimates of between $750,000 and $1.2 million, we had the liquidation of the assets there that netted us right at $200,000. $400,000 is what we had then. We requested in the 2013 budget $500,000 to go toward Roberts Park. That would give us $900,000. We put our budget together before the bid documents came in, so we were taking a little bit of a shot in the dark, but we were at $900,000. We thought we'd be very close. So that is the explanation that folks have been looking for. I think it's very simple. Again, the last year, the city council and the mayor last year put together got a bid of $200,000. Actually, not a bid; it's an estimate to raise the building, but to not reclaim the land or prepare the land for future use. You can see by what we did, we had very specific requests of contracting companies. We wanted them to make sure they adhere to all federal and state regulations in terms of erosion control and possible hazardous materials on site, and we think we've done that. And that's why the bids came back in these documents the way they did.
So you have $500,000 requested in the budget for next year?
Correct.
Okay.
On a line item that says Roberts Park.
Okay. Could the city council have misunderstood that request and thought that was not to be used for demolition or to be used for something else?
I don't know what they thought.
Okay.
There's another line item in there. I think it just says planning, perhaps, but that's I think $40,000 or $50,000.
So there's not going to be any need to rebid the demolition?
We don't know that. I mean, I have read all these documents. We're going to meet later to review them and see what our next course of action is. Could we rebid? That's possible, but I would say it's only a possibility at this point.
Is there a cap on what you intend on spending on this? You mentioned the 1.2 on the high end.
We've said from the beginning the project would be $6 to $8 million, and we still think it's going to be a $6 to $8 million project, and that included the raising of the building and preparing the land for the development of the park.
To be clear on the bid specs, it's not filling the hole, but it is sort of. Somebody was telling me this.
Swell.
It's returning where the building is to its actual natural contour.
What about removing the parking lot?
We have separate bids to repair that. We basically, they
So
would
it's not
not,
part of this.
it is not, we got quotes on it because we wanted to know what to expect down the road as we develop the park further.
If the 500,000 requested for this year and then in addition.
For next year.
For next year, I'm sorry, and then the other 400,000 with the liquidation and then the 2012 budget, what does that do as far as the money to continue and to start the build? Is that something that will have to go back and be rebudgeted again?
We have, what we've said from the beginning is that this would be a multi-year project, so we would never burden the city with too much financial commitment to that one project in any given year. So we, all along, and we've been consistent in this, all along we have said this will be a multi-year project. So after we raise the building and prepare it for reuse, in this case for a park, we'll start the park planning process. And there are specific elements that we've clearly outlined in previous news conferences that we'd like to see as a part of Roberts Park.
There's no hard timeline on when the demolition will happen and that all begins?
It's very possible the demolition will begin as early as October. We estimate it's a 5 to 6 month process.
Didn't the Parks Board set a May 1st deadline? Is that correct?
Correct.
That's still in play?
That's still in place right now.
Mayor, if you want to clarify, the 500,000 is capital,
Yes,
not from the general.
yeah, that's right. That's a good, thank you, Steve. The $500,000 we requested for the 2013 is part of the capital improvement budget and not the operating budget. That money would come from riverboat funds.
And there are no rumblings to revisit what to do with the building?
One member of council has come to me personally and talked to me about it. No other member of council has expressed, well, actually two have. Everyone else, no one else has. As far as I'm concerned, the overwhelming, and I do mean overwhelming response we've received from day one is that additional green space is ideal for this use. I will not support a strip mall in this space as an example. I mean, park over a strip mall any day of the week. And we've been consistent in that from day one. I think if you go back to the task force, the thing that many people said in the task force, make it something that the greatest number of people can use, and clearly that is green space with components that we don't currently have in our park system. A skate park, a dog park, etc.
It's not to include any youth sports type facilities, no baseball, no soccer, nothing of that nature?
I'm sorry?
No youth sports facilities?
Could, but they would, in my mind, there are not going to be any ball fields or anything like that, correct? I would hope there would be potentially youth workout equipment, but not youth ball fields or anything like that.
Meetings are kind of just now, it sounds like, starting on talking about the actual design phase and what it might include.
Correct. That's absolutely right. I've thrown out what I would like to see in there, and that's based on feedback we've received from folks that stop us at traveling city halls, that stopped us, in fact, at on our Streets Alive project on Fulton Avenue. We got a lot of input that day from folks who are very interested in a skate park, and we have a lot of great ideas. We've gone to Louisville to look at its facility. We know a lot of young people drive from Evansville to Louisville to use that facility. Evansville's large enough, I believe, that we ought to have a skate facility that our young people can utilize here at home and not have to drive 2 hours to.
The low bid was from Quake, is that right?
Correct, $958,000.
Any timeline right now as far as when they may hear back?
We'll have a meeting soon to review all this stuff and figure out the plan and take back a recommendation to the Parks Board. Will meet, I don't even know the meeting date off the top of my head. The 19th, 17th or 19th, whatever date that is.
19th.
There could be something happen that day.
And any plan would have had changing costs, different factors that would affect the original estimate? What do you want to tell people just to kind of like be along for the ride, good things are working?
I think the bottom line here is that we've said from the beginning, this is a $6 to $8 million project. We did not break it down into, okay, we think demolition and the preparation of the land for reuse is this. We think a skate park is this. We think a dock. We've not done any of that. We've said from the beginning $6 to $8 million for the entire project. We still think that's a very viable range, and we think we can bring this project in that range.
And what would be the final gain over any second guessing other uses? It's still the most practical, best use for the site.
Absolutely. I mean, again, if you go back to what the task force heard, that is, make it something that most people can use. And green space over commercial space, I think, is a winner every day of the week.
Mayor, you may explain that the original estimate Clink gave is vastly different than the project they bid on now. And you can see from the single page what they said they were going to do is so much different than what.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Their quote of $200,000, or their estimate, they didn't have all this to go by. We gave all the folks who bid on it these parameters to make their quotes, and that's what we have here. So what they gave the city an estimate on last year is vastly different from what we asked them to quote us on this year.
I mean, in hindsight, should their first estimate have been more detailed, or you know, I think that's.
I wasn't here for that, so I don't know.
Yeah.
All I can do is tell you that's what the city asked for, and that's what they gave them.
I guess the only other thing that's kind of still looming too is Mr. Brill's lawsuit, and that's still kind of hanging in the balance, which could have some impact. I know kind of the word from the Parks Board and Mr. Ritter, when I've spoken to them, is just that we're moving ahead and not letting that kind of slow us down at all. Is that still kind of the city's thought?
That is still the administration's plan, to move forward until someone tells us otherwise.